What up, man?
Not much. All right, guys. Welcome to Vibe and Chill Podcast. I'm your host, John. I got Eric with me today as a guest.
Hello.
So, why don't we start off with you kind of explaining who you are, like, what do you like, and all that?
Okay, well, I'm Eric. I'm 26. I am actually from Idaho. And, I get myself into, politics and video games and, religion. And I just I like talking about all kinds of stuff, really. But, there's a few different, things that, interest me more than, that too. But I really like my politics, man, and I'm hoping I can talk to you about Andrew Yang.
Yeah. So, as Eric just mentioned, today's topic is politics. And pretty much, I don't know much about Andrew Yang, but Eric knows quite a bit. I know that recently he dropped out of the race. I don't know what for, but Eric's going to inform us on that today.
I hope so.
Today's episode is not going to be a normal interview. Today's episode is going to be like an open conversation.
Okay.
So, why don't we start off with this? Who is Andrew Yang?
All right. So, Andrew Yang is an independent running as a Democrat for the 2020 election. Now, he did actually recently drop out. Now, there's a lot of things when it comes to Andrew Yang. He's not a politician. He's never had any involvement in politics. He's actually had a success in his own business, which basically his business was to help people basically get jobs or whatever, know how to get jobs better. So it was like an education business, and it was called Venture for America. And what he realized is that with helping people get jobs, he felt like the economy was pumping out, jobs or different things for people to, try and work towards, for their careers. And he realized that it was like a giant bathtub where, you pour the water in, but there's like a hole in the bottom, so it just kind of seeps out. And what he's meaning like that, it's basically like kind of a waste of time, really, if like the economy and jobs aren't, market isn't holding its balance, in a good way. I think there's, so Yang is actually a capitalist, by the way, and he has a policy which is called the Freedom Dividend. And the Freedom Dividend was originally called Universal Basic Income. And so what that is it's a trickle up kind of policy, So what that is he's saying that we blew away 4 million jobs in the last few years, which were Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And it was due to automation. Like, automation would basically killed a whole bunch of jobs. And what he's saying is that a lot of these big tech companies, what they'll do is they're actually with their robots and their new technology and all that kind of stuff, it's actually killing the job market. They're not paying anything in taxes of any kind, basically getting around loopholes, and they're the top. What do we want to call them? Like companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, eBay, all those ones. And so they're taking our data, like we're basically pumping our money into those kind of companies, and they're making a killing off it, and then taking that data and selling it off. And so basically, as a citizen of the United States, if you're a citizen of the United States, you are a shareholder in this country, which means it would be like stock market, or whatever. And so, you give a little bit of that share to those shareholders, and everybody's like, yeah, that's great, So what he's saying is we need to have something where we can get a tiny slice of that income that they're basically making off us, which is killing the job market. And so we need to have something called a VAT tax, which is called an added value or value-added tax. And so for like every purchase on the internet or click or whatever that's making them money, generating them money because of us, then we as citizens of the country should have a part of whatever that highest worth is, and so it's basically like putting the money back into the citizens' hands, if that makes sense, like a tiny bit of it, in which that's about 2.6 trillion a year. And so what that does is, instead of so they're not paying anything in taxes, these companies, right? Have you heard anything about this?
No, that's why I'm glad you came on, because I don't know much about this.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so we're in what we call the fourth industrial revolution, so it's like we're doing so good as an economy, like we're doing probably the best, but the problem is that we're killing off jobs and replacing it with automation and robots and things like that. And so Americans are basically working paycheck to paycheck. I think there's 78% of citizens are, living paycheck to paycheck right now in this country. And, people are dying, the suicide rates, the drug overdoses. There's been 70,000 drug overdoses, about averaged around each year. And just life expectancy is going down. There's all these problems of people going and using guns to do, horrible things, and they're not right in their head because of, I think it's because of mental illnesses, and people are basically living with a scarcity mindset. And so, it's like, okay, we've got GDP growth. Okay, that's good. But it doesn't translate to being a really good job economy. And it's not, so it's like, okay, so our president has done a lot of really good things, but I think that there's a lot of things that we haven't figured out, that nobody's talking about, except for Andrew Yang. And I don't think that, I think it's a matter of opinion on our president, but when there's all these things going on, and it's like, okay, well, we're rating it by like money. It's like, how about things like, rating it, based on, childhood education rates going up, or, how our average income is, or, how mental health is going, or, freedom from substance abuse, or, like, seeing if like, the elderly can actually like, retire in dignity with like, a comfortable living, when most people aren't, there's a lot of old people that are just like, so basically what this is going to do, right? It would do, right? This isn't a new idea, actually. This has been around for a long time, actually, even since the founding of our country. Thomas Paine endorsed it. Martin Luther King actually was fighting for it back in 1968. It actually was going to get passed through Congress. They tried to pass it like 2 or 3 times, but Congress was saying that 1,000 wasn't even enough for the American people. And that's the only reason it didn't get passed, is they thought we should actually do this idea, but make it more. Even Richard Nixon, like in his presidency, he was like all about it. And then, like 12 years later after that, then Alaska, of all states, they go and implement a dividend, and they can give their, the adults like $2,000 or something a year. I think it is, right? And it's because of oil. This data is actually worth more than oil. Like that is they're selling off, make profits off of, basically killing everything off. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if you notice, like you go into McDonald's or something, but they have like order machines, like straight up, dude. You can just like go up to the machine and not even have to talk to anybody. And because of this automation, like Andrew is saying that, in the future we're going to lose our jobs of retail and call center jobs and fast food jobs and truck driving jobs, just like to automation. So it's basically going to kill everything. And so, if we take a tiny bit of that, and see, the thing is that the people that would basically pay for it, like Jeff Bezos from Amazon, or Mark Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk, or whoever, they're basically trying to get around these loopholes and get around the government and avoid the government, and then they're just making all this killing, right? Well, since that, they kind of actually want to, get that monkey off their back, if they like take that's like chump change to them, and get them off, the government off their backs, and then people won't be blaming them for the problem. And, if people that are like, Jeff Bezos, the very, 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 very richest people, only them, like, like it put,
like all the billionaires.
Not necessarily all the billionaires, but like you hear about like the very, 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 very rich, like the very top, Imagine a line, and it's going horizontal, and the line represents everybody in the country. And the further you go right, like the more your worth in a net worth. So if you're going along, and then you go along that line, and then it kind of increases a little bit, and it makes a curve, and then it goes straight up, and it makes a huge line straight up. And that whole entire thing is representing the country. And the very, very tiniest tip at the very top, like, they're basically screwing everything. And so, people are living a scarcity mindset, and it makes people do, crazy things. So every American would be basically getting $1,000 every month. If you're 18 and over, then that's what you can opt into. And so what it does is you this is for life, by the way. Just saying. I think that would be crazy, but like it's actually not that expensive. Um, which I'll talk about that too. Do you have any questions about this so far? Because there's a lot to talk about that I want to get into, but I want to explain things. I want to explain things the right way, but I don't want to
Yeah.
overwhelm you.
So you talked about the UBI for a little bit.
Well, there's a little bit more to it, actually. The UBI would actually cover a lot of these problems that we're having. Like, if so, what it would be, I'm going to talk about what it actually would be, if that is cool.
Yeah.
So, there's all these government programs of, food stamps and, you know, housing benefits or whatever. So, basically, like, if you wanted to opt in, it's optional. But what it would be is that if you have any benefits or anything like that, then it would you could opt into the UBI, and then you just forego any of those benefits. But if you have so that'd be like those kind of things, no questions asked, no restrictions, nothing. Like you could do whatever you want with it, but I think most people would use it. It's, for your basic needs really. And then with working on top of that, you know, that, it basically pumps all this money back into the economy and it gives it right to the people instead of the government. And you could basically, it would help eliminate a lot of these programs, because if you're saying that that's how it is, you can get $1,000 and that's just the way it is, and it's not, you know screwing up the economy. It would actually help the economy. Like,
Yeah, but honestly, $1,000 a month in this country does not go that far.
for a lot of people it would actually, because what it would do is it would eliminate the poverty line. I like, for me, $1,000 would be a huge thing. Like, um, and it would be for, a lot of people would say, okay, well, you do this and it's going to incentivize people to, want to not work or whatever. Well, not really, because there's a lot of people that want to get off of these programs, or they need to stay on them. Some of them, like Social Security or whatever, you can keep whatever. You don't have to opt into that, but you can. So I think it would incentivize people actually, because if you have like an SSI or something, and then you go and work, then you're going to get less than what you would make anyway. So that like disincentivizes people. So if you're saying like, give people a little bit of a leg to stand on, they're going to want to go actually do stuff, and then that money, either way, it's going to go back into the economy anyway. Did you know that it would actually generate $700 billion every year into the
Yeah,
economy?
I was
Like,
watching an interview with him, and he was saying that.
I mean, there, uh, it would, it's like a trickle up economy, and it would basically pay for itself like 25%. Because if you're reducing the poverty expenses, and then you know, you got that, and you get, you can eliminate a lot of the welfare programs, or make it at least less or whatever. And then with the value added tax, it's really not that much money. Um, so there's that, but there's a lot more policies than just the UBI.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, that's $1,000, free $1,000. Why should anybody do that?" Well, if we're living we're actually one of like 29, 39 other what economies like China, Germany, France, Finland, Belgium, Japan, Canada, New Zealand. There's like 39 nations and they've already got this and they've got like an implement for a dividend. And we're actually one of those superpowers like economies, but we're not taking advantage of being able to make it work freely with what we're doing. And so we have to catch up, otherwise it's just going to kill all, a lot of our jobs and people are just going to keep dying, just loss after loss. But does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I think people would stop, killing themselves. Like, you know, there's actually a lot of good policy. Like, uh, with UBI, um, so when we're going to talk about abortion now, if that's okay.
Ooh, that's a that's a touchy subject.
It's actually it would actually be a really good thing for helping that solve that problem because
All right, I
like
just want to make it for the record that if we do talk about abortion and stuff like that, it is personal opinions. It is
absolutely.
not facts. Like,
So
we don't mean to offend anybody in any way.
well, this is the thing is that the reasons people have abortions is because they can't be able to help um like 70% of abortions are reasons because the mother isn't able to financially help, raise the baby. So if you have an extra $1,000 a month, that would like reduce abortion like tremendously, you know? I mean, I think that, there's my opinions on it, which I'm not going to get into, but, you know, some people are going to say people that would be for abortion, right? Okay,
Yeah.
well, if like this is my opinion, if it would kill the mother, or the mother, gets raped, you know, like I would be all for it. Um, but most of the reason is because of financial. And so if we can give people incentivized like mothers to be able to stay at home or, be able to have that money to be able to raise their family or whatever, then they can it helps it. So, you know, there's legitimate reasons for abortions, I think, but there's also like that would be a good help, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just a statistic. I'm not going to say whether I'm for it or against it, but that's
Yeah.
just that's just a statistic. Like that's a fact. Um,
So now
and I
my
thought that.
second
Go ahead.
question is, where does Yang stand on the Second Amendment?
Okay, good question. So it would seem that we have a problem with different violence. There's a lot of violence going on, but what Yang is proposing is that, okay, so people want to keep their guns, right?
Yep.
So then the other side is like, okay, well, we want to like either ban them or try to make it harder for people to get, um, guns or keep their guns or whatever. So what Yang is saying is, okay, well, let's keep our guns, but what I'm gonna be offering is that if there are those people that want guns but they don't know if that it's gonna be safe, to keep around, we would have an implemented technology that would, if it would have like a grip, like you could grip, and it would scan basically like the pressure of your hand and all that stuff. So if you're it would only recognize the owner of the gun. So if somebody picked it up and they wanted to use
So
it,
like biometric hardware.
basically, and it's not that, okay, and he's saying like, okay, well, if you don't want that technology, like you can keep whatever you have, basically, like, but if you want this, you could basically turn in what you have and get the same one, but it's upgraded. Then they would basically trade you. Or if you say, if you wanted to sell that gun or whatever, you could basically sell it back to the government for what you paid for it. um since you couldn't just like pass it off to somebody else and sell it,
Yeah.
but you could basically do that and get its worth, um if you wanted to, so he's like, you know I think he knows that the Second Amendment is important, but he also realizes that, I think like most people that are sensible would say that, I think if we were able to make things a little bit stricter, I don't think anybody would mind, but I don't think banning guns is necessarily the solution. So on that note, um he doesn't think that a lot of people would cause a lot of gun violence because, honestly, if we're being real, it's because of mental illness and people, no offense to anybody that may take this wrong, but sometimes it can make people do crazy things. And so if you're just stressing out and you're losing your mind over everything, then it's like we could potentially like lower all these death rates of all kinds of problems that we have and actually solve that problem without um stepping on anybody's toes, because
But
actually,
see, the way I look at it is, yes, he wants to implement that, but on the other hand, if they start implementing that, the black market is going to thrive and people are just going to stop buying guns out of stores and they're just going to go on the streets and buy their guns.
well, that's the thing, people can get their guns anyways. So it's like people are going to get their guns anyways. That's my opinion. I think like most criminals that have guns that aren't supposed to have guns, like they don't care about the law, so they're going to get their guns anyway. It's not that you have to take that up, but there's that option if you want to, you know. He So his campaign slogan actually is not left, not right, forward, which most of his policies would actually be like, okay, well, I think most people would actually like agree on a lot of things, actually, because most of his base comes from liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, libertarians, you know, centrists, people that are disengaged with politics, like it's actually made up of a lot of people. Like there's a pretty huge diversity, I guess, like a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds. And the fact that, there can be a base that actually is like, okay, well, because I don't know about you, man, but I don't know about you, dude, but I'm kind of like tired of the whole like political divide thing. Because I actually voted for Trump, as you know, and you can have your opinions on the president. I think my opinions are my opinions, which I will. but I think that there's a lot of better ways of policy wise, which is like really important, I think, to me, and make sure that it actually policies are really important. And I just think that there's a lot of rhetoric on both ends, where both ends um are doing their own thing, and it's a lot of bickering and a lot of rhetoric, and like it's not helping anything really, which is kind of why a big reason I don't want to be like, it's a reason I'm independent, you know, because I don't want to like be with a party, because parties are always changing and things are always going on. And, it's like, if you stick to just like one party or thinking or just like not paying attention to like everything, then you can miss out on a lot. And I think that that's where a lot of people have gotten to is people on the left will be like, oh, those Trump supporters, or, people on the right will be like, if you don't like Trump, then you hate America and you're just like, a dumb liberal, and it's just like, it's counterproductive, and it's not actually helping anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd agree to that, but like, I like enthusiasm and all this stuff, but we got, you know, Trump over here, like getting his base riled up, and then nobody on the right wants to listen to anybody on the left because they're the evil Democrats. And then, we got like Pelosi over here, losing her mind, and just like the Democratic Party is like just like falling to bits, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, why can't we just stop this? Like, why can't we actually why can't we actually work on the problems? Like, um, does that make sense? And
It makes perfect sense.
that's one of the things Andrew Yang talks about, is that, he's at like, running as a Democrat. Like, okay, if he would have ran as a Republican, he wouldn't. I don't know what could have happened, honestly, but um, see, we're gonna get into some stuff, like, there's some things we're gonna talk about, but I want to talk about a couple more these really quick before we get into like that. I don't know if you have any questions you
Um,
ask me. Um,
I think at this point in the podcast, we are going to take a break. For the listeners, it's only going to be like a 30-second ad, but for us, it's going to be about 20 minutes or so because I got to go do some stuff. But I will invite you back when I'm done.
all right. Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be like 30 seconds for the listeners, but for you it's
All
going to be
right.
like but it's going to be like 20 minutes or so.
All right.
All right, and we will catch y'all after the break.
What's up,
And
man?
we're back.
Yes, we are. Hello, hello, hello. That was fun to say. Sim- Dude, simple mind, simple pleasure. You know,
Yeah.
serious, bro. So, what's up?
So we talked about Yang and the Second Amendment. Now, how is Yang going to protect our free speech?
Now, that's a question that I guess a lot of people haven't asked him. I don't think that. I think he's all for it, really. I mean, you know, pretty much, like he's not really, he doesn't seem, he doesn't seem like correct in the sense of like, just like not, like he'll say it how it is, but like he'll have fun with it, so like, um, that's kind of a different question, but I do have an answer that, um, is involved with that question, I guess. So one of the things that he wants to do, I don't know if you've heard about it. Have you heard about all the different newspapers being like closed and um whatever over like local newspapers over the last
Yeah,
12 months?
yeah, because like all the bigwig news stations are taking over the business.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, there's like what, like six or eight different big companies that like own everything, but they all basically regurgitate the same stuff, through all kinds of different
Yeah,
outlets. So it's not really independent anymore unless you're taking the online route, which
yeah,
they still seem to want to have a problem with that. It's not the internet, it's not what it used to be, but so what one of the things that he's saying is that there was like 1,200 like papers gone like in the last like 12 months that were like local, that he knew of, uh, you know, and so since Mm, see, and this is the thing is that local news is such a huge thing, and then you find out what's going on in the community, and you're getting involved with stuff, and then you find out what's going on with politics, and then it can actually affect like voting early. So I don't think he's against free speech at all. Like, you know, that'd be something that I want to ask him if I get a chance because I don't think many people have asked that I could find. But what he wants to do is he's saying like, there's a systematic problem because of, like I said, the data and online usage, and it's eliminating papers and things like that. And since there's not really a good strategy of how to save those, what he wants to do is take $1 billion and he wants to invest it into like a local journalism fund, which the FCC comes out of the FCC, and so it'll help communities basically find a model that would make it so that those papers and business, local newspapers and things like that stay in business.
yeah,
Um, so I hope that's a good answer. Um, it's very specific, but that's what I thought was actually important anyway, to talk
yeah,
about. There's a lot of little things that he doesn't, it's not that aren't on the frontal of his policies, but I want to throw out a couple really quick if that's cool.
yeah. That's fine.
Did you know he wants to get rid of the penny?
Really? Why?
Because it actually, well, nobody really nobody really likes pennies anyway. I guess that's kind of a logical thing,
Yeah,
fallacy. But so did you know that the United States is producing 8 billion new pennies each year? And with those 8 billion new pennies, we're basically paying, it costs more to make the penny than it's even worth. And so we're basically spending like $7 million, and by producing them, we're losing 1 billion each year.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think that's like he says, it's just a common sense thing. It's not like, ooh, that's gonna make me, you know, be like the reason I've probably vote for him. But I mean, $1 billion, that's a lot of money, and that could act, that could actually go into a lot of other things, and what we're at right now is I think our GDP is like $20 trillion or something. And I think, oh yeah, by the way, the UBI, I was saying that it would generate 700 billion. That was a false number. I meant to say um, that it would be like 2.6 trillion. That would basically grow the economy each year and then create 4.6 million new jobs. So there's that. But and I wanted to correct that. But I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, it's not really anything. Nobody really likes pennies anyway. So
Yeah.
why don't we just cut that. I think it's kind of fun. I think it's kind of funny actually. Like I don't know. I just love that.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, in a way, he's right. Like the penny, like, what's the point?
let's
Like,
round it to the next point. Oh, 5. It's like 5 cent. Round it up to 5 cents or 10 cents or 15. Like let's just not even do the penny. know, is that I don't know. Um, so there's that. There's another thing I want to say. Do you know anything about? So you know how if you're an employee, for someone, you get you get your rights and your normal, benefits and things like that um, you receive. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Well, what he wants to do also is that, so we're gonna talk about like go off on another little subject here, like pro wrestlers or MMA fighters or like performance artists or things,
yeah,
whatever. Like, so a lot of these like performers are what you call independent contractors, which independent contractor is supposed to mean like the you work for yourself, and then if somebody calls you up or you call them up, and then you go work for them, and then you leave and you move on to the next gig or whatever it is. So they label like those kind of people as independent contractors, even though they're really not, because like take pro wrestling for example. You have, it's a company, and then you have your performers, um
yeah.
and
You're
work
under
for,
management.
you're under management, exactly, and that's the difference, between being an employee and being an independent contractor. One thing that Yang is saying is that those kind of people aren't being taken care of, and they're them going out there and doing those kind of physical problem activities and then having problems later when they get home. He wants to make sure that they're taken care of. So he wants to like create like some union, something to do with unions of, you know, basically help make sure that those kind of people are taken care of. I thought that was pretty cool because, we're, me, I'm a pro wrestling fan, but there's a lot of people, and not just people like that, but there's a lot of other jobs like artists and, you know, just all kinds of different jobs that aren't being, they're told they're not being valued really. And he wants to bring a lot more attention to those things so we can actually have, more of that, because we're actually losing it more and more, it seems. I don't know if you agree, but
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it just seems like the American dream is dying, and it's like you want to set out for what you want, but it's just such a scarcity problem that we're just in a bad mentality, and instead of you know everybody dying or losing their jobs or having to work so many jobs or whatever, it's ridiculous. You got to humanize the economy and make it work for us, because you know it's supposed to work for us, and if we're, the ones, we're shareholders in this country, like, we get a say and we get people acting like that's not okay. And
Yeah.
it's killing the American dream. I don't know about you, dude, but I mean, have you how have you felt about a lot of these type of things? Like, because it seems like a lot of things are still getting worse in those areas, but um, everybody's screaming about how great everything has been, and it's like, well, not really. If we're, and what Andrew was saying is that instead of, like it seems like the president and other people are scapegoating immigrants as the problem when it's actually automation, you know, and that's one of the big issues, really. And I, there's a lot to talk about that. Have you ever heard? Have you ever heard of? Well, we'll get to that later, actually. What was the question that we were on? Freedom of speech? Um, Something like that, right? I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like those are some important things to talk about. Oh, there's one other thing I want to talk about too, if you would like to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so what is your opinion? Let me ask you a question. What's your opinion on um the election process and the two-party system and how it
Honestly,
works and basically like you know things like what are your opinions on that?
honestly, I'm registered as Republican,
All
but
right.
honestly, it don't really matter to me.
All right. Well, one of the things that Andrew's talking about is that there's a two-party system which kind of makes it hard for independents or whoever. It makes it hard to be you have to go underneath one of those parties more days to even have a chance. And so there's all these, corporate people and donating to campaigns and things like that. So he's thinking about wanting this thing called ranked choice voting, which, involves like something he calls democracy dollars. Now, instead of having like big packs of people that are helping all these campaigns to help themselves, the lobbyists. What he's suggesting is that every American can have $100 for each election season, and if you find a candidate that you want, you can just donate directly to them, and then it makes it fair. You can use it or not, but it's like you can use that, and that basically helps whatever campaign, and so we don't have like a problem of not being able to support your own campaign or whatever. And so he wants to open it up that way and then have it be more. I think he wants more party um opening, be able to have more than just a two-party system, really. You know.
Yeah,
I mean, does that
so
sound
people could run as independent.
exactly? Because you know, if we're being honest, I don't think Donald Trump would have been able to win if he ran as a Democrat in the 26 elections. So I think he had to run as a Republican. But it's like, I don't think, it's like there's people that wouldn't make it as a Republican. So they have to go register, Democrat. So that, you got like, different candidates and they have to run as that, which puts a little D or a little R next to their name, and then people just like associate that with like labeling and like just assuming, what people believe. We've gotten to a point where people on both sides won't even, it seems like, won't even listen to each other really. And so it's like we have a hard time with the conversation and just the radicalization on both sides that, you know, create a bigger divide of things and it doesn't help anything. So it's like, it creates such a huge problem. And I've seen it on both sides where it's like that because when I was growing up, I considered myself pretty liberal, but like I still had, like leaned right on some like there's different policies and things I like from both sides. So
Yeah.
I'm actually registered as an independent, but I voted for Trump because I thought his policies were good and I thought that it would be great to help unite the country, and that was my view on that. And I don't know, I just kind of realized, in my opinion, like it seems like with the two different sides, you've got it's just there's so many labeling, there's so much labeling that it, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So it makes it hard to even for people to even want to have a conversation. It seems like nowadays. Um, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what I want to say on that. But both sides basically, this is my opinion, are from um they're basically like in on it, like everything, like they have their agenda, but they have different ways of going about things. So there's so many similarities, but it's different to different extremes, and I guess it depends on each individual and you know things like that. But I just feel like instead of having that divide of rhetoric, it's like, okay, well, why don't we bring both sides together and get back to our lives, and we can all benefit together in ways that we could probably all agree on if we were to actually have a conversation, um, without being, a civil conversation, you know.
Yeah.
So, so like Yang isn't. It seems like he's more independent, really, but he's like running as a Democrat, and I think he considers himself a Democrat, but as an outsider that has no political experience and having success with business and things like that, people look to like Donald Trump for that. Well, okay, well, what about Yang? You know, like, and I think there's a lot of people that won't even like really look at what's going on both sides, in my opinion, and they tell you really not to do that. Otherwise it's fake news or whatever. So it's like people act like if it doesn't go with what narrative that they want, then it's just like fake news. So, or deflecting of some kind or whatever. And it's just kind of counterproductive, really. Um, so what was your next? Oh, one thing you wanted to do, I don't know about, like, there's this whole, the climate change. That's not really my topic, but, you know, I guess
I
if,
personally don't believe in climate change or whatever.
well,
Not climate change, but I don't believe in global warming.
yeah, I mean, see, this is my opinion is that, um, there's problems with our weather, but it's actually, in my opinion, being manipulated through what they call geoengineering. And I guess that goes on another whole nother, I guess people, I don't really have much to say on that, but I think that there's problems going on, but I don't think that we're looking at things completely the right way. I think there's a problem, but it's not the way we usually look at it. So that's my opinion. I'm not going to say anything on that because it's not really my topic, I guess. But I think that, as long, if we can, make sure that things are on the up and up, like that's not a bad thing at all. Like, so,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things of, that, people that are really heavily into that, um,
Like that rabbit
it's
trail.
really important to them, and if that's what if that's something that is important, and we're trying to make sure that all the thing, I don't really have an opinion on it exactly. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong because I really have no idea, but I think we're just looking at things the wrong way, and that's just my opinion. Anybody wants to talk to me about that, I'm open to it. So, um, then there's this other policy which I could agree with, but I could disagree with. He wants to lower the voting age to 16.
No, no, I don't agree with that.
See, I mean, the way he presents it is that it would it would give people that aren't like adults, like quite yet, like a little bit of a say to have some kind of like opinion on or whatever on what when they get older and when they're 18, and they so it's like in that sense, if you want that, it's like it could go either way for me. But the thing is that um people's brains don't fully develop until they're about 25, and so I don't know if the whole I
Because
don't
then you've got parents that will persuade some kids to go in certain directions.
yeah, I mean it's like if they want to do that, that's what they can do, I guess. But I would I personally am not I it could go either way for me really. I think that both ends of it could have a there's good points, of why we should either lower it or raise it or keep it. I guess it's kind of just an individual opinion, but he at least presents it in kind of a way that I could be open to, but I guess would have to see. I'd rather, know more about it than I don't want to give an opinion that I don't really know anything on.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
you don't want to be talking out of your butt.
Pretty much, man. I'm not the one of those kind of people. If I don't have an opinion or I don't know, I'm gonna say like how it is. Like I could be open minded to whatever, but it doesn't really. It could be either way for me, really. So what's your next question?
Next one is, will Yang keep marijuana legal, state or federal or both?
Yeah, he wants to fully decriminalize it and the federal ban, all that. And the I think that's something that most people could agree on. Most of our country could agree on, honestly. Um, and that would help against like the opioid problem we have. You know, No, you have no idea what I'm talking about with that, right? No, we don't have that problem in Idaho. What are you talking about? But so, obviously we have a big problem with that. And he want,
But
he wants to decriminalize that. And I heard psychedelics, but I'm not sure. I'm not fully opinionated on that either.
um,
But if people are gonna go overdose from them ill, then if they do that, then they can go seek help or treatment rather than jail. And
yeah,
then and so that would help the legalization would help that problem. And then what he wants to do about marijuana, like he wants to like legalize it and the federal ban. He wants to have anybody that was in prison or had any kind of um, pro that on their record. He wanted it expunged, and he wanted those people released from prison from nonviolent crimes like that. And uh, yeah, he wants to go all the way. So that would be a big that would be a big deal.
so I know our main focus is Yang, but has Trump ever talked about legalizing?
Well, he talked about it. He's kind of gone back and forth on it. Sometimes he said, like, yeah, let's do it. Sometimes he said, no, let's not do it. Sometimes he said, well, I don't not really know my opinion on it. Or sometimes he's like, well, I don't think that he really knows what he thinks on it, but I think that he's open to it, but I don't think it's on his agenda. And I don't think that that's what's going to happen with him because there's a lot of other things that are going on, and I just don't think it's on his agenda, which is actually one thing that I really wanted him to do. You know, I wanted him to be the one that, got it done. And, uh, there's a lot of things that on this list with Yang that, like, I wanted Trump to be with policy wise, and, and then we got into, know, just rhetoric. And so it's like, I don't know that the president is concerned about it, but I think that he has people talking to him about it. Like I don't know if you listen to any of his, people will go into his like administration and record like his conversations with people or whatever. And somebody was talking to him from Vice, I think it was Vice, and they were saying trying to talk to him about that, but it didn't seem like he really had an opinion. And in my view, I think he was just kind of like, mm, just kind of like. So I just don't
Like
think that.
beating around the bush?
Yeah, he didn't really say anything, and I don't think that that's on his priority list, which for me is actually one of the big things that I wanted. But I just haven't gotten the things that I wanted or thought from the presidency so far. And see, the thing about Yang that I like is that he's like a real guy. He's genuine. He's saying, like, look, let's solve the problems. Let's not sit there and play the blame game and blame everybody else. Like he says, Donald Trump of all of our problems. He is a symptom of a disease that has been going on for generations. And Donald Trump is not the fault. So we need to actually look at the problems that Donald Trump elected. And so he's like the only Democrat that's actually like saying, like, almost, I don't want to say pro Trump stuff, but it's like
No,
not
but he's not against them and he's not with them.
exactly. And it's like that is so cool. And that's what I need. And I think we need. And it's like, okay, we have Donald Trump, and he he kind of got he kind of like was like, okay, let's break the system as it is, to like, basically challenge whatever and just like get like he shook everything up really. But I feel like, it just keeps getting crazier in different ways. And I think we need more healing. And I think that the fact that Andrew Yang is, see, I mean, this is the thing. He has so many things that are in common with Trump. And I think there's that mutual respect. And I think honestly, he could beat Donald Trump in a debate fully on. He could take him full on and take it out, but he's not be disrespectful or rude or be like, screw Trump, basically. He's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't agree with the situation and I don't like what's going on. And I think there's a lot of problems and we need to solve those problems. And those are more important than the rhetoric on both ends. And
So instead of talking about it, he's trying to do something.
exactly. And he's been running his check this out. I'm gonna give a shout out to the Yang Gang right now. Yang Gang. So yeah, he actually, we're gonna talk about the one of the big things right now. I was telling you about the Yang Media blackout.
Yeah.
This is where things get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. And so Andrew Yang has been running and he threw his hat in the politician race back in 2017. And he's been campaigning basically a grassroots movement for the last, 2.5 years or something like that. And then we get into the actual Democratic race itself with, the debates. And from the beginning, like, they have put a whole media blackout on Yang when there's the media, especially MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times, all the mainstream media basically have been completely against Yang from the beginning. Scott Santens, who has been with Yang this entire time, has documented it and put it on record. If you look at visual history of Yang Media blackout on Google, you'll find it, and it shows all of it. Like any of the graphics that they talk about, like 10 candidates, but then there's like 9 names and there's not Yang up there. Like any of their graphics, it's like, oh, we've got so many presidential candidates, like the top 8 or whatever, and then you have like 7 of them, and Yang's not even on there. Or there's cases of where they changed his name, or changed his picture, and see, a lot of this has been going on, which basically cut a lot of their viewers down. They've limited his talking times during debates. They've basically just slandered him, made him look like.
So pretty much like they did to Trump.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what they did to Bernie Sanders in 2016. And you know what? I wasn't even on the left side when all the 2016 was going on. I was just like disengaged. And everybody's been going the last couple of years going, oh, Bernie got screwed. Bernie got screwed. And I'm sitting here like, how? And I've always heard about like the media rigging it and rigging elections. And, it's not a shock to a lot of people, but I don't know. I've seen it for myself. Like that Iowa thing, the caucusing and all that, the primaries, like this whole thing has been like manipulated, and most of Yang's base is online, and there's a huge base of everybody, like a mix of everybody really. And so, you got like the Trump supporters, and they're like, oh, well, Yang, how's the polls doing? And I'm like, dude, shouldn't Trump supporters know that polls mean absolutely nothing? You know? And then, like, you have people not even paying attention, and to what's going on, and they're just stuck in their own little bubble, and they're not paying attention on the right to what's going on the left. And I know that for a fact that that's how that is. I know that for a fact because that's what they'll sit there and be like, don't even listen to the Democrats. They're all just corrupt, and so everybody's just missing out on Yang unless it's word by mouth, and then or people are actually paying attention. And then you have like the left, and it's like its own thing, and it's just totally crumbling apart, and they're totally corrupt and like screwing over their own, trying to attempt to manipulate one of the best candidates that could actually beat Donald Trump. And they've been complaining about Donald Trump for about 4 or 5 years now. And then,
dude, when Donald Trump got elected, therapists started doing free therapy for people that voted for Hillary.
yeah, I heard.
Or not Hillary, whoever ran.
See, and that's the thing. What I'm going to say about Trump is that here's what I'm going to say about our president. The one thing that I'm going to say is that, how do I want to say this? I think that I'm not even going to say what I'm not even going to. I'm going to say it this way. I think that there's a lot of misinformation on both sides. I think that there's a lot of people that are eager to manipulate or lie to other people for their own gain. That's politics, really. And so with our president, I feel like there's, how do I want to say this? I want to say this the right way. There's just a lot of misinformation, and there's people not paying attention to what's going on. Like, I've known about Andrew Yang. I knew about Andrew Yang a year ago. I heard about him because I heard him through independent news sources because I don't watch mainstream media. I'll watch some of it on both ends and see what their narratives. I absorb everything.
Shout out to We Are Change.
Their change is pretty good. Well, yeah. There's a lot. Well, there's a lot of different. Independent news sources are more credible than mainstream media, and I think everybody knows that or should know that by now. If you don't know anything about that, look up Operation Mockingbird. That's just another topic on itself. But there's just a lot of misinformation and people not paying attention, and then the rhetoric, and then the getting riled up, and Donald Trump, like he he has somebody on the other side that could legitimately outbeat Donald Trump on both policy and debate because of the fact that Yang is an outsider. And so a lot of Trump, what he'll do is he'll go and say, well, you're a political establishment crook, basically, or he'll say, he'll just have, all the things that he will go talk against that gets his base riled up. And it's like Andrew Yang is none of, so he couldn't attack him on any of those things. And this entire time, our president has kept mostly, for the most part, silent on Yang and won't give any attention to him, because if Yang is running on the left and that's the Democrats thing, then Donald Trump is like not going to help that side at all. And so he's going to keep hush hush on it. So that way, if it came down to it, he would actually potentially have a good opponent that he would have to go against. And that would just make more things on his plate than he'd probably want to deal with, which actually kind of, I know he doesn't owe anybody to talk about that, but I would have really, I feel like I lost a lot of respect for him, because if he actually wanted to help fix the problem and fix the Democrat Party while they're screwing it up, he would at least talk about Andrew Yang, and he won't even attack him. He'll go attack like Bernie, crazy Bernie, and Pocahontas Warren, and creepy Joe Biden, all those like the names and all the stuff, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, okay, well, what about Yang, dude? Like, are you gonna talk about Yang, or are you just gonna like keep quiet on that?
No, because they don't want people to know about the independent running because they don't want the people to have a voice.
Exactly. See, and so that's why Donald Trump doesn't want to say anything. But then people on the left, it's like if you've ever heard of the military-industrial complex, they'll talk about the different things like the war and the spending on all this stuff, and it's like it feels like they're both sides are basically two different sides of the same coin, really. And it bothers the crap out. I know it bothers a lot of people, actually, and that's my opinion. I mean, you can be whatever you want, and I'm not going to tell you what to vote for or do, but the way I see it is that both sides are very, very different extremes right now, and we don't need any more of that. And it's causing a lot of problems on a lot of different fronts, uh, every way, really. And see, it's not going to anything that Yang is talking about. His policies aren't going to help benefit anybody on the left who has like those agendas in mind. So they try and silence Yang and act like he doesn't exist and do all that stuff. Meanwhile, this is the flip side of it. His he's more popular than people realize, and he's got a true grassroots movement that is word of mouth and all over. If you actually do like the research, you put the time into it and effort, like looking at these things and listening to him or hearing what he has to say about these real things, and he's like doing it in such a beautiful way. And honestly, I'm gonna say this, man, like the Yang Gang, I've had more fun with Yang Gang than I in like the short time I've been with them than I've been like with the Trump people the whole time. But I don't exactly, you know, I don't know, man. They're just like so open and like open to everything and listening to conversations and hearing things, and have been welcoming to me. And I've actually like gained some friends, and you know people are cool with me, and it's like such a good feeling of like I don't have to live up to a right or left thing. It's like I can just be me and be happy, and I don't have to have that stress and the whole thing and the getting riled up. And it's like the anger is so chill, dude. And it's like so many people of so many different backgrounds, and we're all coming together in a cause where we probably would have never done that 4 years ago or even thought about that, and they've been nothing but like absolutely wonderful to me. And, I want to like, I think that that's what we need is more love, more understanding, more discussion, more intellectual conversation, more research, more open mindedness. And that's one of the things that I really like about him is that he's a genuine guy with real solutions that actually wants to get down to the problems. Um, and that's mostly what I relate with. And it feels like if I question people on either other side or whatever, then I've had experiences where people will say, "Oh, you got to trust Trump, and you got to trust the plan, and you got to trust Q, and all that." You're like, "Well, I question everything." And then on the people on the left, they're like, "Well, we don't like Trump, so anybody but Trump, let's get him." And it's like, okay, well, I don't want either one of those things. Like I want to be able to have my own free thought process and not feel like there's a label of anything. And people need to be more connected as humans to each other and get on a personal level instead of like red versus blue or
See, the saying that I've always liked. So I'll say I'm a raver, and so one of our sayings is peace, love, unity, and respect. If everybody could adopt that saying, that this country would be so much better.
humanity first, bro. That's what Yang's like all about, like exactly, and being kinder to each other. I don't think it's more. I think that's more than just policies. I think it's more of a lifestyle, really. And it's like I feel so much love for people, and when I felt so miserable being on both sides of things that I lost like myself, and I felt like I couldn't question things, and I felt like I couldn't, I'd get like you know, like
All right, here's a
what to
question.
do or
So,
how to feel. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. And I don't want to feel bitter or angry or anything. I feel nothing but love for people. And I want that. And I think that Yang himself, like, related, it related to me because it's like everything I've been saying over the last couple of years and thinking that maybe I'm the crazy person because I'm questioning things and I'm not going along with the crowd and I never have. And always wondered, like, you know, feeling down on myself. And it's like, that's the thing is that we're so conditioned to think a certain way and feel a certain way. And then, like actually having my heart soften and being like, you know what, like, I get this. Like, this is like everything like I wanted, you know, like, and not just what I wanted, but things that would benefit everybody else. See, going into voting for Trump, like I've lost a lot of things and a lot of friendships and a lot of my life because of it, and time and effort. But you know, it feels like it's okay because I you know I voted for things that I thought would actually benefit like the country more than like myself. Actually, the only thing I really liked about Trump more was that I mean, he's kind of obnoxiously loud sometimes and kind of just, to be honest, it kind of reminds me of myself sometimes. But, you know, I don't know. I just like to say it how it is. But Yang does it how it is. But he's like so classy and, you know, just so classy about everything. And it feels like he could actually bring everybody together and everybody can agree on it. Um, and what were you gonna? I think you were gonna say something.
yeah, so I didn't have this question written down, but as far as like the LGBTQ community goes, where does Yang stand on that?
Dude, Yang Gang is inclusive to everybody. Like we have everybody. We have like, everybody. Like like me myself. Like I'm a straight white Christian male. But like we have people on the other side in the Yang Gang that are you know whatever, and it's like it doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, like why we could all just like love and accept each other and have everybody included. Anybody that like is with this like humanity first, like you know, like he's all for uh, absolutely. I mean, come on, man. We live in 2020, and I don't care what anybody else does. Like if they want to do something with their body or they, want to love or they love this person or want to do whatever it is, it's like I don't care, man. Like it's like, dude, I love everybody. Like it doesn't bother me. All about is like loving everybody and being kinder to everybody and more understanding and accept, like and it's not as much based on like identity politics, I feel, as it is like unity over the possibility of policies that work for everybody while being kinder to each other and putting humanity first and living that lifestyle, trying to do things that help your community, and building a community and having people involved of all kinds of backgrounds, and that's what our country is, man. You know, it's like, and that's my opinion, and I think, and Yang's like all for like that, all that, like he's like so soft spoken and understanding, like, I feel like I would assume, I don't know that I fit probably the commonality of different parties or whatever. I'm just like me, just like everybody else. And I think everybody else is absolutely amazing. And I love everybody. And that's what Ying's message is all about, really. I think it's bringing both sides together.
Yeah. So at this point in the podcast, I pretty much give the guest about 5 minutes just to like promote their social media. If you got any upcoming projects, like what are you working on? Like, just like kind of promote yourself.
Okay. Well, my first question is, if I get out of this app, will it still record?
Yeah, it should, because it does for me.
Yeah, are you still there?
Yep.
I'm gonna give out my social media information. So I've been involved with Yang Gang for a minute, and they were so cool. Actually, like, somebody sent me some canvassing supplies, and like uh the math hat. Actually, do you know what the math hat is for? Do you know what that meth or math stands for?
It's Make America Think Harder.
Yep. And or as I like to think about it, if you have the hat backwards in a mirror, it's Hire the Asian Man.
Yeah.
I was looking at it last night. I was looking at my mirror and I'm like, whoa, that spells Hire the Asian Man. I was like, but so I've been involved with Yang Gang for a minute, and I'm putting all my time and effort into this fully on because just with all the media blackout and everything else, I think that Yang has gotten everybody talking, and now that he actually dropped out, all the media is like all over him, and he's got nothing but like coverage, and I just think that's so funny. But the fact of like trying to get involved more into like you know local stuff or try to push for like I actually believe in all these policies, like most of his policies, and I think most of the Yang Gang is on board, and we want to get UBI pushed, and if it has to start at more local levels, I think like California's pushing for a dividend of some kind. I think it was like $400 or something like that. Like Alaska has it. It's not. It's actually not just some gimmick thing. Like, and I think that a lot of these would, if we could push for these policies, which I want to do whatever I can or try to get some kind of attention of saying, hey, look, like I was a Trump voter and I went to Yang and I think the policies are better. Um, like, and I want to get more involved. I want to get more involved because, I, me, man, I'll talk to anybody about anything really. And when I put my mind something, like I'm gonna do it, and I do it. And so that's that's one of the things that I'm gonna be more heavily involved in this, because I want to see either Yang. I don't know if he can come back after suspending his campaign. I'm not sure how that works, but I think that'd be really cool. Like he's like, yeah, blackout, and then he comes back, and then like they have to talk about him. Like I don't know if that's on
Yeah.
his mind or not. I don't know if that could happen, but that we're trying to go um, canvas and get more people's attention and talking to people to get his name out there with the different policies of the Freedom Dividend, and um, I'm involved. Like I said, I'm involved with debate of all kinds, but I have gotten more into politics uh, because I think it affects all of us. So I've actually got a Twitter. Um, I think it is at end of days 208, and you'll see a picture of me, and it says Yang Yang on the front. And then you can add me on Facebook too, Eric Craig Miller. Um, a lot of the Yang Gang actually sticks together. Like like it's pretty well, you know, organized. It seems like it's like, you know what I mean. Like we're pretty united for the same cause, really. So I'm just gonna be focusing on that stuff. Um, I don't know if I really don't know where to go from here. I'm thinking maybe I might start a YouTube channel. I've got one, but I only have about two videos. I think one of them is when I threw out my MAGA hat. Actually, um, yeah, and then the other one is a video that was Yang saying that Trump isn't the problem. And my YouTube channel is Eric Craig Miller also. So that's just what my name is across all of them. Um, and that's about it for that. I mean, I want to ask you. It's a lot of information and a lot of things to think about, but I mean, if they're trying that hard to cover up, people in their elections and things like that, then what does that tell you, that their policies and ideas are actually pretty good, right? Because that's my opinion. That's my opinion. And if the president isn't going to do his normality of, attack the other candidates, like, and he doesn't attack Yang, that's that's saying something, honestly. I think that I think that I think if it came down to it, Yang could beat Trump, but with everything going on, it's been difficult, and it's been an uphill battle the whole way. So I've heard, obviously, and I actually think the president likes Yang. I think they would actually get along. I think he's going to try and go for VP or um, do something. So I guess we're just trying to figure out what we want to do according to Scott Santon's. He's actually like pretty cool. Give him a shout out, and Paget, Caggy.
It'd be
What?
even cool if Yang like got on like the House of Representatives or something like that.
Yeah, man, he should do something, because most everybody on both sides like him, and they understand that like he's actually serious. Like he would be great, We need to get more people involved on a local and personal level, and actually, have a direction and figure that direction out, and then just going for it, and with everybody that is involved, like it's such a great movement, so many great people, and everybody's so welcoming. Like, if you or anybody else, wanted to go Yang Yang, everybody would be like, yeah, man, like, and a lot of people, like about half of Yang, I think they were saying something like half of Yang's voters are like Trump supporters or something, or there's like 40% of his voters that say that they will not vote for any other Democrat. Yang's the only Democrat that I would ever vote for, unless he was like a VP for somebody in it, but I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican, but I think that, if we can get UBI or at least help him out, get something, I think that would be great. I think if Trump got elected, then it would probably further the need for Yang in 4 years. But if he was vice president for someone, which he said he would probably do and endorse, if somebody would endorse the idea of UBI, which I think the only one who's done it on the left is Tulsi Gabbard. Um, but I wouldn't vote for any other Democrat, and I'm sorry to anybody that's Democrat, but like I'm not doing that. But I'm not voting Trump, so I think I'm gonna have to go right in for Yang. And even being in a deep red Republican state, like I think I'm gonna because you know, and I think there's so many voters that will go right into Yang. Um, Whatever they want to, do, I guess is up to them, but I would like to think that everybody in the Yang Gang would stick together and say, what, if the DNC is this corrupt on so many levels, and Yang has done this well this far off of a grassroots movement, and he's got people talking, and the attention is on him. I think that's a good day. I think that's a good thing. Um, do you have any opinions on that?
Honestly,
I'm getting high. I'm getting high for
like I
Yang right
said,
now. Just kidding. No, it's funny. Everybody on Twitter, they're like, caucus for Yang or vote for Yang or donate to Yang. How about get high for Yang? Let's make that trending on Twitter. I had to say it, man.
but yeah, I I'm registered as Republican, but honestly, I like some of Trump's policies, and then I like some of Yang's policies, and then like I I like a little bit of everybody.
Right? And that's what I'm
I think
saying. Like, why
if
does it have to be one person or one thing or one group or whatever? Like, why should we have to do that? Why can't we just have, like, like you said, like, honestly, we've known each other for what? Probably 7, 8 months or something. And I'd say you're
yeah,
pretty, you're pretty, and I think you're pretty thinking and like your opinions, and so like I think that's really good because having openness is like more of what we need on both sides, really, man. Like, so I would have
yeah,
to agree with you, honestly. Like, there's things on the left and the right that I would agree or disagree with, but if we can have like policies that actually bring those together, man, like, wouldn't that be so cool? And then we could just like eliminate all the like work on eliminating the actual problems, and and go against the establishment in a real positive, like I think there's more riding on this election than there was in 2016, and that's a big statement.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's the new decade,
It is absolutely.
and and people, I don't know how to put it, but people are wanting change, and
Exactly,
they're
man.
not seeing it with the current candidates.
Well, yeah, that
And
and that's the thing from the rest of them is they're the same old washed up, people that haven't done anything about any of it for so long, and it he's like so spot on, and all the rest of the candidates are actually, if you actually watch the debates, like most of the candidates are actually like copying Yang's policies now because like he's talking about this. So I think in their mind is they're like, oh crap, like he's actually talking about this stuff, so we have to talk about it. And then they're copying him, and then they downplay it with him to make it seem like he's not really. They try to play it off as if it's not his ideas and play it off like he's not as important or something. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And see, that's what they're doing. And it's like they've been complaining about President Trump for 4 years. And here we are saying Trump supporters, okay, are not going to vote for Trump. We're actually going to vote for, a Democrat. And we're like, let's give this, let's help them out, like, because we agree with this. And then they're like, screw Yang, basically, and they're like, we want to push for, one of our agendas of our puppets, like Pete Buttigieg or, you know, Klobuchar or whatever, like seriously, goes out and votes who goes out and votes for Joe Biden? I'm just saying. But, it's just like they're all, and I'm not even going to talk about the Bernie bros. We're not going there today. I love, I've, I love this stuff, man. I love people. I love ideas.
I mean, I guess I don't even have to ask the question, what's your favorite thing about Yang? Because you pretty much explained it.
I love everything about Yang because it's Yang, and it's like he's so, it's like, okay, we don't want to get focused on him, but it's the fact that, okay, he's actually really classy and he's a genuine person, real person, and he's bringing realistic ideas to the table, and he's the only one really shaking up this entire election on both ends, really, if we're being serious. And so, it shouldn't be about your candidate really, as it should be the policy, but it helps knowing that there's somebody who isn't all about the rhetoric, which is, I think, what we need. And I just I feel like this whole thing has like changed me, actually, like my perspective of like this is what I actually want and I think would be best for everybody. And I feel like that lingering kind of like empty feeling, you know what I mean? Like kind of
Yeah.
confused feeling or whatever of having to be a this or that, it's gone, you know? Like it took a minute because like I was like, I knew about Yang a year ago, and then I didn't hear about him for so long, and then I stepped out of politics for most of 2019, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to focus on my own life and my own priorities and like just get away from that. And so when I come
Yeah.
back into it, then it's like it's changed so much, or I just don't like feel like I don't want to get sucked back into like all this stuff. And so, and then I was like, whoa, like, I started talking about Yang and everybody on the right. Well, some people on the right that have been my friends are like, oh, you're a fake Trump supporter, or oh, you're a sellout, or oh, you like a socialist, even though he's not a socialist, he's a capitalist, like, and then I've heard different other things. And
Okay, so for our audience, you want to explain the difference between a socialist and a capitalist?
basically look at Bernie's policies versus, probably Yang's or somebody. It's like okay, socialism. I think socialism is a means of seizing the means of production and then like um distributing it throughout the whole place like the way they see it, and it's all like more government, and more of capitalists is more of like, okay, we want a free and open market, but we don't want capitalism to like ruin everything, and everybody's like, oh, capitalism sucks, or socialism sucks, or whatever. If we can make capitalism work with things that will benefit people that are concerned about social issues that bring real solutions and benefit to everybody, you know, that's what we need to be more focused on. Like, it's like they're two different extremes and they're going for the same result, but they take different paths of doing it, in my opinion. Like, I think Trump, like, I'm gonna go on a limb and I'm gonna say Trump is what happens when like capitalism gets out of hand, you know, a little bit of, okay, well, capitalism isn't totally bad, but if we're destroying the economy and the job markets because of capitalism,
Actually, Trump is actually nationalist.
yeah, I know. And see, basically, nationalist means basically that you're putting your country first or have pride in your country or whatever it is. But see, and Trump is saying like, okay, let's put Americans first, right? Let's put Americans first with American first policies. Like, okay, well, how about UBI? We could put Americans first, and then everybody's like, oh my God, that's socialism. It's like, no, it's not socialism. It's like it's tax return, basically. Some of we're investing in, and then you get kind of a part of it back. Really, like, it's our money. It's
Yeah.
our money. It's our data. It's our, we're shareholders in this nation, and we get a say of how it is. And so, if it's not working for us, we should be able to say that this is not working for us, which is really American as it gets, really. Being able to say that it's not working for us, so let's make it work for us and let's thrive. Because UBI isn't socialism, because socialism is where you start at zero, and that's only going to create debt and things like that. So if it's not starting at zero, it's it's not socialism. Like, it's not. It's just a tax. Like, but I mean, he's not saying tax the rich. He's just saying like, if we got to go where the money is, and if that money is feeding only so many top people and it's ruining everything else in some ways, or there's misleading information, then you know. Oh, there's one other thing I want to say really quick. Speaking of that and numbers and making sure that everything gets, you know, talked about. Like I said earlier, he's talking about like every State of the Union address. He wants to go through the numbers of like different things and say like, this is where we're at, and try to make it better, adjust or whatever.
So he wants to be open
He wants,
about the
yeah,
money.
he's the math guy. He's so smart. Like, he's the guy that's all about the numbers and saying, look, the numbers don't lie. You can't deny the numbers, and that's just fact. And so let's take a look at these. Let's take a look at everything. Let's measure things besides just GDP growth or, whatever. It's like, let's measure things in life expectancy and people's lives and how their mental health is doing. And, whether substance abuse is getting better, where the elderly can retire with dignity and have a comfortable living. Because if they're retiring and not having anything, then that's just terrible. Um, you
Yeah.
know, like, let's measure everything. Like he's saying like, let's be open and honest, and like he's even saying like, even if you know somebody gets elected as president, they were saying if he were to get elected as president, what does he think about looking, investigating, and throwing, a lot of people will throw the elected president in jail, or try to do that whole thing. And Yang is like basically like, let's not, I'm gonna like look at stuff, but it's not gonna be what's really important. What's gonna be important is actually working on the solutions that we and implementing solutions on the problems, basically. And I just think that that's so cool. I think that's so cool. Like, I want numbers. I want genuine results, and I want everybody to be united and thrive together. And we could do so many more things. Like, we have so much potential as a human race to do so many things and take our dreams and like make them reality and make our lives better and help our mental health and save our people and keep producing and keep you know m- bring us out of that poverty line. And let's do all this stuff, and we could be even better than we are now. I mean, hashtag Yang upgrades America, dude. It real, I mean, if we're looking at like right now, like a GDP of 20 trillion, like, and we're gonna spend like, you know, so like a tiny part, 2.6 trillion for UBI, which would help make the economy grow even more anyway. It'll pay for itself, and it makes sense. It's not as bad as people
Yeah.
think. If you think, oh, this guy is giving away $1,000. This is some kind of gimmick, and he's going to tax everybody, and everybody's going to pay for it, and it's going to be just another program that's going to get us more screwed. Like, I'm in kind of an argument with one of my friends right now because she won't listen to me about what the actual positions are and policies, and she's like assuming and then attacking those things, and it's like, why, you know I want us to get, I think I want, most importantly, I want most of us to be able to say, like, okay, let's have a conversation and look about this and get back to that, because we're not the divided states of America, dude. We're not supposed to be that. We're supposed to be so much greater and potential, and be able to be like, yes, like, we're on the same page and we all want the same thing, and we all want this way. So let's just blast into super hyperspace and just like, have a whole new way that will just like make everything better. It's not about, oh, I want $1,000 a month and then I'm just gonna, you know, do something stupid with it. Cause I don't think most people, there's some people that probably do that, but most people, I don't really think that they would do that. Because if they're in a bad position, they're going to try and help themselves. I think would help themselves, and people that have more money, sure, they get the $1,000, but they get $1,000. Like, you
Like
know,
$1,000 could pay your rent for a 2-bedroom apartment out where we live.
yeah, like a good 2 bedroom apartment, a huge apartment, like, is like $600 or $700, and then you could like buy food or whatever with like $300 or something, and then just like work, and like your needs are covered, and then everything else is just gonna, when you're working, and it's gonna give you a reason to
So
work.
pretty much the government pays you to live and eat, and you go to work just so you have extra screw around money.
Pretty much, yeah, man. Except, pretty much, dude. Except for it's not the government giving you money. It's that it's going directly from that to the people. So it's like the government, it's actually like saying like screw the government, like let's put the money in people's hands. People could actually get off, like do so many things to benefit themselves and help each other and have a mentality of like, I want to help this person or I want to do this
But
or
the only thing that I don't think is right is like if you do opt for this $1,000 a month, you have to give up food stamps, you have to give up your state insurance, you have to give up your cash benefits.
yeah, well, that's only if you want to. I mean, if somebody is getting more benefits than $1,000 a month, and they're probably getting more than like they wouldn't want to go into the UBI, which is understandable. And then there's like the people like, like I get cash benefits of $50 a month on my food stamp card, but I only get like $16 in food stamps. Um, so like I could,
Well, wait a minute. You only get $16?
yeah, dude.
How did that happen?
Well, when our president got elected, it got cut down by about $120 something, which I actually knew that would happen, so I wasn't really totally mad about it because I knew it
I
would
get
happen. But
I get 114 in food stamps and then I get 50 in cash benefits.
seeing this, like in theory, like doing that, you could forego those if you wanted to, or opt into it if you don't have any other benefits or anything, and you could just have it. So it's really up to you. You don't have to, but it's there. And then doing that rather than having the government have control and say, this is how you have to do it and this is how much you have. And it would eliminate a lot of those programs, which is save us money in the long run anyway. And it would make a smaller government rather than making it bigger to have people rely on that. And then knowing that it's because of it's our money, basically, like literally, then it's like, there's no problem. There's no like, that's great. It's awesome. And, um, there's no restrictions. So if you mess up, like you could basically mess up and screw it up really bad or whatever, say the circumstances, but the next month you can try and adjust, and it'll teach better people how to balance better and balance their money better. And I don't think it would go to waste. And I think it would actually improve the quality of living and the way we think about things, and uh, it would bring more mental stability, and like, it would help all that, you know and
Yeah.
it's more than just like $1,000 a month. Yeah, give me my 12,000 and I'm just gonna like, if you really look at it, you get into the policies and everything, it really would cover so many things in theory. And there's actually been test runs of that, and actually Yang I think he took like 10 families or something for a year or something and gave them $1,000 a month out of his own pocket, and did as a test run. And there's been other test runs of it, and it works like, in Alaska. And like, it's pretty common. It's just that we don't talk about it and we don't hear about it because we live in a world of scarcity, you know
Yeah.
does that make sense? Like, and they're like, oh, you just want $1,000 to sit at home and not do
No, that
anything.
makes perfect sense.
They're well, I've had friends that are like, oh, you just want $1,000 so you can sit at home and do nothing. It's like, no, dude, I want that $1,000 because it's mine. Number one, number two, it would help me to get myself. I could live so much better that way in so many ways that you know
Yeah.
I mean, let's just take people on SSI or whatever that have, restrictions on that. That could mean if they really wanted to, they could opt into that and have a little bit of freedom where nobody can touch it, and they can actually, it helps everybody. So it's like, uh, it doesn't make people, and it doesn't enable people to want to do nothing. enables people to want to do more, I think. Because if you have $1,000 and your basic needs are met, let's just say you cover your basic needs and then you work, that's just gravy, man.
Yeah.
Which it's all going to go back into the economy and it's going to keep flowing and it's going to keep getting better and
Like,
people are going to want to start
right
up
off
their
the
own
top of my
businesses or
head,
get a car or you know put it towards having a starting a family or uh, having food and if they wanted to just blow it, say if they have all their money and they have all their needs met and they just got the $1,000, they could just blow it away and screw around with it and it goes straight back into the economy anyway.
yeah, it's legit free money.
Yeah, man, it's like and there's like 39 other countries I think or something I was reading, and we're like one of the only super economies that doesn't have this implemented, and so we're behind a lot of people, and it's gonna only hurt us if we don't. In my opinion, it's only gonna hurt us if we don't implement it.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me? Because I think I've gotten through most of this information. I've got this pamphlet. They gave me, see, I got a huge box of pamphlets too. Um, yeah, like 4.6 million jobs growth. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing. Um, let's see, there's a couple quotes on here. This is by Martin Luther King Jr. I am now convinced that the simplest approach will prove to be the most effective. The solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a now widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. And then Elon Musk, this was in 2017. I think we'll end up doing universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. There will be fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. See, that's another good point. You can't tax the robot, you know, so it's like if you're taxing to have workers or whatever, then uh, like taxing you know what I mean? So it's like we're
Yeah.
basically gonna tax the robot is basically what we're doing want to do. Warren Buffett in 2017. You have to figure out how to distribute it. People who fail by the wayside through no fault of their own, as the goose lays more golden eggs, should still get a chance to participate in that prosperity. And that's where the government comes in. So it's like we want to actually limit like make a smaller government because we are the government. We are the government. We get to say what goes. If they're deciding for us, then that's not America. That's not a democracy anymore, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess a lot of people like to use the word democracy, even though it's more of a what you call a democratic republic.
Mm.
So, um, there's that, man. Do you have any questions or anything you'd like to add or comment? Because I I'm all talked out, bro. Did I yang you?
Definitely, you gave me a lot to think about.
I told you, dude, huh? You probably thought that I was just gonna, you know, probably didn't know what I was gonna talk about, huh?
Like, I had no clue what was gonna happen going into this. Like, um, before I did this podcast, um, I actually was gonna do a tarot reading with my friend Erin, from Balanced Creations. Shout out to her. And I was gonna do a tarot card reading to see how the outcome was gonna go, but I ended up not doing it, and I just winged it, and I mean, so far it's been good.
That's good, man. I think that's cool, dude. Like you know, some of it may sound kind of a little bit different than what you normally get, but I think as long as we could have a conversation and talk about these things, and um, I think that's a big success. And I think that even though Yang has suspended his campaign right now, I think it was a success that he was saying. You want to know what he said when he dropped out? He
What?
said that basically that he doesn't want to be in a campaign that he doesn't think would win at this moment in time, basically, and that the numbers just weren't leading to what he thought would be at the moment. Um, and he doesn't feel right. This is where,
So, in other
well,
words,
no,
he doesn't want to waste his
well,
time.
he said he doesn't want to waste his time or anybody else's time or money. And he doesn't feel right about accepting money from people if he doesn't know that it's going to work out, which kind of was like a huge slap to the face of the establishment on the way out. Like, because you got all these people that don't even want to be president probably, and they're just running and they're still in it. It's like, this is so lame, you know? And, he can slap them on the way out and say, like, you know, screw this, basically. And he's made it like such a beautiful spoken, like, I'm impressed with how smart he is, to be honest. Um, so I don't know. I think that that's really cool, and just like ending it
Yeah.
that way and saying and having that impact. He definitely shook some things up, and I think if we can actually have a conversation and more people talk about this, the better things can get. And I think if we have something that we can all agree on, then that helps open it up. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about it, man, and asking me to um, talk about it to you because it's something that I believe in, and I appreciate being able to say my thoughts the way I want to and what I think, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that that's what's great about podcast is you can talk about anything on podcast and you're not censored for it.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, you have like young listeners out there, but at the same time, you don't have to, I don't know how to put it, like, you don't have to like hide your thoughts. You can speak your mind.
yeah, I mean,
Don't die on us now.
sorry, I had to cough for a minute. Um, so I agree. You know, I think we should do more of these because I think there's a lot of things we could talk about. And I mean, if you're open to more, you know, podcasts, man,
Yeah, definitely. I do need to start getting more content out there, and I'd love to have you as a regular.
that'd be awesome, man. And there's actually Yang Yang that were talking to me on Facebook, and there was, excuse me, excuse me, man. I have a little bit of a coughing problem. That's disgusting. But and some of these people actually like, want me to link this. Like, so they said that they would add, like, some of them are like, you know, I need to quit these cigarettes. They said that they would support you. So
That's awesome.
yeah, excuse me for coughing over here. I'm losing my left lung.
I won't say that I'm all the way for Yang yet. That I got 1 foot outside the Trump train.
Ooh.
We'll put it that way.
I was
I got
gonna
1 foot in, 1 foot out.
You want to know something funny?
What?
There's actually like a legit process of like getting yanged. Like, I'll explain it. I think I've got it on my phone right here. Everybody's like, what? Yeah, here it is. Stage 1, denial. What ridiculous ideas. That guy will never win. Stage 2, confusion. How can you afford UBI? Won't this cause inflation? Step Stage 3, curiosity. What would $1,000 a month mean for me and my family? Stage 4, research. Wow, he has over 100 policy proposals and interviews as well. Stage 5, enlightenment. This guy actually makes sense. Has real solutions. Stage 6, excitement. Yang can actually make a difference with humanity first. And then stage 7, hashtag Yang Gang. I need to tell my mom, my friends, and everybody else. And everybody goes through it, dude. I swear, like, we're yeah, I swear that you'll go through that, man, because I think you're probably in stage research, probably, because you're asking me for information, right? So
Yeah.
you're probably like
And I've been watching a lot of interviews on him.
You have?
Yeah.
You're probably in stage 5
I
of
watched the
enlightenment,
one where
bro.
he was on NPR or whatever it's called.
NPR, dude. Oh man. I I have no idea why I'm coughing. But
Well, I just gotta say this. Congratulations. You are the first guest to ever have the podcast go on for more than an hour and a half.
I just yanged your ass. Dude, I think you're probably in like, stage 5 of enlightenment. You're just like, this guy actually makes sense and has real solutions, or you're like probably still in like research and enlightenment. And I'm over here just like hashtag Yang Gang, America needs Yang, caucus for Yang, smoke for Yang, vote for Yang, eat cereal for Yang, do everything for Yang, dude. I'm just like, I've yanged probably like 25 people doing this yang, and like everybody here in Idaho is like totally responsive to it, like, and like even my dad, who's like like he's like a lifelong Republican who has like no idea what's going on in politics at all. He's just like, dude, I'd vote for Yang. I could use that $1,000 and go to and I could go to Alaska. And I'm just like, dude,
okay, so if Yang does become president, right, and he does the whole UBI thing, how does that affect Alaskans that already have UBI through the state?
Probably stacks, bro. Dividend plus dividend. You know what? That's a good question. If anybody in the Yang Gang can ask Andrew that question, that would be interesting. because I want to know. Like that's they get like watch them get like you know what is it? They'd get like $14,000 or whatever for free, dude. Let's all go to Alaska.
Ugh.
We'll get an extra $2,000 or whatever a year.
Dude, you know that in Alaska, a gallon of milk is $7? Yeah, a gallon of milk is $7, and a loaf of bread is like $6.45.
It's like in Texas when like cigarettes were like $7 and milk was like, like really expensive, but like gas was like low, kind of low or whatever. And I'm just like, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. I got this Yang Yang anthem or whatever that this fan made, and I'm just like, I always have it going off. Do everything for Yang, dude. You know what I mean, bro? You gotta
Yeah.
play video games for Yang, you gotta work for Yang, you gotta sleep. You know what? That sounds wrong. I'm not even gonna say that. But you know what? Did you
um,
see that whipped cream gif or whatever? And the dude's
no.
like on his knees, and then Yang's just like spread cream. Dude, I want to get Yang whipped. Dude, it looks like a good time. I can't explain it. Like my heart, like, dude, that's like a such a bro thing to do. It's like, dude, dude, honestly, I don't think I could ever vote for anybody but Yang because, like, he took like he set the bar pretty high, dude. Like way high, dude. Like way high. It,
Yeah.
like, but honestly, like, it's a realistic high. You know, it's not like I just think that we need to talk about more things, and some people are just like, I don't know what to think about this thing, but you know, I mean, like realistically, if you were to do all that stuff and make it happen, like, dude, I believe it could happen. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
uh,
Um, so this podcast has been going on for a little over an hour and a half now, so I think we are gonna wrap up pretty soon.
hey man, I'm cool with that. I wasn't expecting to talk for a while, but I knew we'd be talking about some stuff, man, because there's a lot to talk about with that, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out, and I hope people can take this information and research these things for themselves and think for yourselves. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Andrew. Well, listen to Andrew, but research the facts.
But form your own opinion.
Yeah, go look at the facts and go look at what you think and what you can try and figure out what the truth is, and never let anybody tell you that you should like, I'm not going to use that word, but you have to do this or that. You do what you want to do, and I hope that this information can spread or people can find it useful and talk to other people and yang them, their friends and everybody, because it's like, so important to me, I think. And you need to go look, dude. Honestly, John, you need to go and listen. One more thing, you need to go listen to Andrew Yang's audiobook on YouTube. It's called The War on Normal People. I've been listening to it, and he's basically talking about how it's gonna be, how it's been, and how it's gonna be at some point if we don't get this done. So it's very
Yeah,
interesting. So go listen to that for sure, dude.
definitely. Um, I guess my final thoughts are like it's a lot of information to take
It
in.
is. Do you have any
Definitely, it's made me think.
make America think harder, bro? Math.
But
I like math. Do you like math? Math, my grandpa used to tell me when I was a kid that
what?
math was a game and he was in it to figure it out and win it. And, math is a game. Math is fun. You know, you gotta go look at the numbers. You gotta figure out the facts. And you know what? It is a game. It's kind of fun, really. Like, I feel like listening to Andrew Yang, like, boosted my IQ. And, yeah, go listen to him, man. I got some things I want to send you too.
Definitely.
So, anything else? Any other comments, man?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, Yang Yang love, bro. Mucho Lovo and
So
Yang Yang and let's just let's move forward together, man.
I want to thank y'all for listening. And if you have any thoughts of your own, feel free to message me and or Eric.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I will catch y'all on the flip side.
Peace.